Episode of my CELTA journey. I'm looking at my notes here because I had to take a week off. I have to tell you, I was quite tired, but it's the end of the year. So I'm trying to go back and review my notes and finish up the CELTA series for you. So we're on week 13. And week 13 consisted of the same where we had 2 input sessions on Tuesday morning, and then they went and did their teaching practice and assisted lesson planning on Thursday morning. This week we had 2 things. We had a session on speaking, yes, developing speaking skills, and I did a session on writing skills. So they had the 2 productive skills for input sessions, and then the TP5s for some of the candidates. So they are in the new groups and they're teaching the new students at the different levels. So let's go through the input session. So the first input session was on developing speaking skills. Normal, it was an hour and a half, mainly focused on speaking sub skills and staging of speaking lessons. So we started out by looking at a couple different activities from course books, from printed materials, where they discussed aims and the activities and how to differentiate activities to practice either fluency or language practice. So that was kind of one of the main highlights of the session, where we were looking at, is this practicing oral fluency, speaking skills, speaking sub skills, or is this practicing a specific type of language? Then let's see, then there was some more ideas. There were some quotes from some of the published authors regarding speaking skills. And then we looked into sub skills. And so the sub skills that were discussed in this session were fillers and false starts, intonation, turn taking, paralinguistic features, asking for clarification, back channeling, and circumlocution strategies. So we went through some of those, gave some examples, looked at some printed materials. Printed materials and some course books about that. And then there was a Jamboard activity where there was a list of speaking strategies, and they needed to categorize. It was a categorization. Then obviously we gave the answers to that. And at the end of the session, there was a bit of a demo lesson. And then from the demo lesson, the teachers had to discuss the stages of that lesson and the purpose of the speaking lesson. So overall, quite a nice session. Then I had my session on writing skills. So this was okay. It was okay. So the way that I decided to do it was to give a demo lesson, and then from the demo lesson, the candidates would look at a lesson plan, and we would discuss mainly focused on product writing lessons and process writing lessons, and kind of differentiating what are the stages between those two, what are practical in terms of, I mean, they're doing a CELTA course, so like if we do process writing, it's fine. You could do a process writing lesson for an assessed CELTA lesson, but the thing about it is that process writing is kind of a long, arduous, we'll say, process where you have to spend a little bit of time on the stages. There's thinking time and everything else, editing and feedback and collaboration. So there's quite a bit more to it. So if they do decide to do a writing lesson, probably it would be more of a product where they have a model text and the students have to emulate that model text. So we went through that. So I gave them a demo lesson. My demo lesson, I think, was a bit too long, critically thinking of my part here. I think my demo lesson was a bit too long for them, because at the end, what they had to do was stage out a writing lesson for themselves. Yeah. So between that and the presentation, kind of clarifying the two different types of writing lessons, I think it was a bit too long, but it was still productive. They got through all of the tasks that they needed to get through. We ran over like 10 minutes, which is not, hugely unsuccessful, but obviously a little bit better planning on my part would have made it a little bit more successful. Then we had TP5s. Everything was going okay. I think overall, this group does well. Hang on, I'm pulling up the TP5 reports. Sorry, I should have had these open. This group is doing well. They're comfortable teaching the candidates, the students, the candidate students that we have. Yeah, the groups. Some of the main things that we kept running into and continue to run into in terms of lesson planning. Well, I guess I could just make an overall comment on this. In terms of lesson plan, if you're doing a course like CELTA where you're being assessed, if you submit a lesson plan, then you have to understand that this is the only record of for the tutors to look at to be able to understand your line of thinking. So I know that we don't normally, or most people don't normally do full lesson plans for every single lesson, but as an assessed lesson, we see what you do in the lesson and we see what you put on your lesson plan, and that's it. Most of the time we don't have discussion prior to you. There's assisted lesson planning, like there's a little bit of help, but we don't have a discussion, full-on discussion of like the why you're doing the things that you're doing. So if you decide to do a course, any course, I think that you have to submit a lesson plan. I think my lesson plans were actually too much for tutors. And now that I'm reflecting on my own lesson plans, like I put too much information in there, but I tend to err on the side of caution when I submit lesson plans because I want the person to understand my line of thinking of why I'm doing certain things. And this is how I analyzed it. So this is like the reason why I'm introducing it a specific way, et cetera, et cetera. So keep that in mind, or bear that in mind when you are doing any type of observed lesson, that the person really, they can see what you do in your teaching practice, and we have the lesson plans, and that's it. There's nothing else that we have. So we can't jump into your mind and understand your decision-making process. That being said, we still continue to struggle with setting aims. There's 3 aims that are required, at least on this form, for this lesson plan, for this course with this institution. There's a personal aim, main aim, and subsidiary aim. So let me break it down for you. Personal aim is something that you're struggling with, or has been brought to your attention in feedback, or something that you want to improve on. And really, it's just something for you. It's what you want to do in the classroom. It has nothing really to do with necessarily the material or the type of lesson that you're giving. It has much more to do with what do you want to achieve when you're giving this lesson. So is it, I don't know, shorter instructions? Is it God, there can be so many things. Less unnecessary teacher talking time. I'm going to clarify that because teacher talking time is not a bad thing. So less unnecessary teacher talking time. Is it that you want to test a hypothesis that you've had? If you're doing some action research in your classes, for example, if you decide to develop your own tasks for an authentic material and you're not super comfortable with that, or you haven't really done that before. So that would go into a personal aim to be able to test and reflect on the efficacy of the task that you develop. Something along those lines, okay? Main aim reflects the lesson focus. So we're focused here on what's the communicative goal of your lesson, meaning what are you trying to do? If it's a vocabulary lesson, then the students need to understand and use the vocabulary that you're introducing. If it's a reading lesson, then students need to be able to have time to practice their reading skills. So that main aim is very much reflective of what the lesson focus is. Subsidiary aims are not the same as main aims. If your main aim is a vocabulary lesson, for example, then your subsidiary aim is not vocabulary as well, because that's your main aim. So your subsidiary aim would be something else that the students need to practice or use or understand in order to be able to complete the lesson. So let me give you an example. If you have a vocabulary lesson, then your main aim is for the students to be able to understand and use the vocabulary that you're introducing, the target language. The subsidiary aim of that, let's say maybe they have to extract that target language from a text. So one of the subsidiary aims might be that they need to use some sort of reading subskill to be able to extract that specific information. So whatever subskill that you want to put there, that's appropriate. Or perhaps they have to do a speaking follow-up task or extended task or whatever at the end of the lesson. So then perhaps you would say a subsidiary aim would be one of the speaking subskills. Perhaps intonation would be an appropriate one for a vocabulary lesson. Something along those lines. Okay, so main aim reflects the focus. Subsidiary aim is something else in terms of skills or systems that the students need to employ to be able to complete the lesson successfully. And personal aim is something about you, how you're giving the lesson. Hopefully that's clear. Yes, other than that, the lessons went fine for GP5 for 3 of the candidates. It was not much of an issue, but next week, we have more sessions on error correction, some language awareness, and I will be back with week 14. So getting towards the end. All right, that's it for this recording, and I'll be back with another one.